token gains, token progress. In the New York Tribune, in an editorial dated February the 5th, 1960, they pointed out.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. This is Preacher Miles, the host. I am the host of the SOS Shout Out Show. And literally, sometimes, not often, but you say, where do I start? Something happens and you go, where do I start? And what I mean by that is there's an issue, if you will, whereby we have to sit and try to figure out where people's intentions begin and where they end. If you look at the title of the show today, and I'm going to give my shout outs early because I'm going to go maybe a little about 5 minutes longer today, because I think it's really, really important, because we're seeing a manifestation that I've been talking about probably from day one. You know, whether it was healthcare, whether it was George Floyd, we see the manifestation of what happens when you don't effectively pursue or check or have a checks and balances on foundational injustice. Let me say this: foundational injustice. And we begin to lay a groundwork that's faulty. We're not laying it. We're left to walk a faulty groundwork, if you will. Meaning that those are in power. And I said this earlier today. When someone oppresses you, and they know they have the ability to oppress you, their exchange with you is either going to be imagination or it's going to be innovation. Imagination or innovation. And here in Washington, D.C., I'm at my mother's house. I'm safe. We're all safe. And I'm going to break this down to you. See, you see Washington, D.C., I want you to know something. That's two entities. Washington is where the protesters stormed the house. D.C. is where the black people live. D.C. is where the hard scrabble life of D.C. life, drugs, and everything else is. D.C. is where you have all the decent, hardworking people who've been working for years and years and years to establish a household, but they had to give up their homes due to gentrification. D.C. is where you find Howard University. And my point is, you won't see that on screen. It requires that somebody explain it to you. It requires that somebody lay it out for you, that you may understand what you just saw. There are pictures of the house being stormed. What is interesting, there are pictures of the protesters taking pictures with the police. There are pictures of the protesters who have broken the law having fun conversation, casual conversation. The only thing that's missing, brothers and sisters, in this type of situation, and I'm going to be very graphic, is a black body hanging from a tree that's either been hung or burned or castrated. Because that's the casualness of racism in the United States. This is not running into the house. This is, brothers and sisters, people making lynching a social event. The only thing here is white people won't lynch themselves. White people won't lynch themselves. So let me go to the thing. If you're coming on the show the first time, forgive me, because I'm not gonna go through the rules today. I'm too tired. I'm tired. I don't like rules. You know why I don't like rules? Because somebody gives me a rule, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna see somebody break the rules, and exactly what I saw today. Shout out to Reed, yes, Sister Reed. Thank you for checking on us. We are safe in Washington, D.C. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, little brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. I'm trying to make the show a little bit better. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Satana. Yes, I switched up the topic today. You see, the original topic today was an apology to Georgia voters, because I underestimated the power of Georgia voters, and I lean more so into the fact that the corruptness of the Georgia infrastructure, the corruptness of the United States will somehow steal the will of the people from the Georgia voters. I was wrong, and I'm happily wrong. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Brother Altaf, and I'm going to take a minute to talk to you, Altaf. Because Altaf is in Canada. Altaf is in Toronto. And what's important is, across the border, Altaf is watching the United States go to hell in a handbasket. An international country looking at this chaos. And I'm going to say something for everybody on here, and I hope you don't take it personal. Because it's just, you got to be truthful. So let me say this, brothers and sisters. Let me tell you about America. Let me explain to you about America. I've said a lot of things about America, that America, for the African American, the conscious person, you're always reminded that someone wants to harm you. That's one side of it. There's the laws, if you will. There's the edicts, if you will. They use religion if they can. They use property if they can. They use wealth to always know that you could be harmed in some way. And if they couldn't harm you, then they say God didn't like you. God created you inferior or deficient in some regards. But in the words of my big brother, Reginald Kitchen, we didn't talk about race much because he was older, and I'm getting to that point now. I can't trust white existence. And I'm not a racist. It's just too much of a litmus test that says I just can't trust it. You see, the DNA of African Americans and people of color and Native Americans, that white pride and white supremacy could never handle, brothers and sisters, never handle. We never asked permission to be excellent or great, but more so, in the wake of everything we've gone through, racism, genocide, treaties, immigration, the one thing, particularly the African American, is always stipulated to America is whatever you do, when the dust settles, I want you to know that we're still going to exist, that we're still going to be here. Oppression or not, we have a mandate where we're going to exist. I have pictures right now of the old Nation of Islam with the brother with the sandwich boards in black and white. And what did the sandwich board say, brothers and sisters? It was a tonality about existence. The sandwich board says, I am a man. I am a man. To remind these people, you are not men. You are not women. Damn it, you are not human. And to add even further to this thing, as you see, white people understanding the justice that you use to oppress other people, it doesn't work for you either. And by consequence, in negative serendipity, you do not exist. You don't exist. The entity, the parallel universe that you live in, that's what happens when you don't exist. Or sadly, you only exist in your own mind. This is not up for debate. If you wanted to know it, brothers and sisters, we've been calling this through so many episodes of the ShOUT show. So many episodes of things you've seen on other shows. Are you surprised? When they came here before, the protesters came here before, what did I say? I said, this is a rehearsal. This is a rehearsal. And what they rehearsed was the police response to them, which was nothing. Do you know how hurtful it is to watch people who are willingly and wantonly broken the law go to the people that would normally oppress us in police uniforms and riot gear to see a man in riot gear helping an old white cracker lady down the steps so she doesn't hurt herself, what message does that send? You broke the law, lady. If I was a black lady or black man, you'd been pushed down the steps. I remember what happened in Lafayette Park. They threw tear gas. They threw tear gas on a peaceful, brothers and sisters, a peaceful demonstration. A peaceful demonstration. My brother's on here, JT. Let me tell you about black folk and peaceful demonstration. Over 1 million black men came to the United States, came to the Capitol, Washington, D.C. Over 1 million, probably 2 million, in peaceful assembly. And nobody got cited for anything more than a parking ticket. If 2 million black men can come and question, hear me now, question justice, question equality, question those in power, and leave the city probably in a better situation than it was when they got there, how can you let 30, 40,000 people destroy everything you've been telling black folk, Latinos, about how great this country? You couldn't even stop them your damn self. And let me give this one to you too, because I haven't forgot my man, Reginald Kitchen. I said we don't talk about race, but we don't talk about it tonight. Because I know when the Black Lives Matter protesters came through, they brought in National Guard, police. They made them dress different way. Couldn't even see their uniforms. Couldn't do anything. You didn't know if they were police or not. Had on masks and riot gear. And here, they didn't even have enough people to stop these people from going through the damn door. My brother was there. The Million Man March is what I'm talking about. 2 million black men showed up for a civil protest and never had a problem. No drugs, no alcohol. At the end of it, they said, listen, 2 million men, wherever you are, if you see a piece of trash, pick it up. Because that's how important it was to have a perception that we had not only a peaceful demonstration, but we also respected the space. We cleaned up the space. So let me get this part to you, because I'm going to have to talk about this. I'm going to have to explain it, because I had Martin playing. And the topic, brothers and sisters, is this. It says racist chickens have come home to roost. Now, some of y'all are thinking chickens like in a barn, chicken like you get from the chicken shack, fried chicken. No, I'm talking about chickens as a matter of character. Chickens as in cowards. And only they could come to this situation and act out. You know why? Because the people they were acting out against, they know that they are cowards too. The politician game, it ain't nothing but pimps and hoes, and you need to call it what it is. And even let me throw this in here, brothers and sisters, about America. Stop lying to your kids. Stop lying to your kids. Let them see this. Put them in front of the TV. Take them away from the PlayStation 5. This is America. Unless you decide to change what you mean what America's going to mean to you. Down in Georgia, 2 senators. And I want to apologize to Georgia. I said you probably only get 1 senator. You got 2 senators. But I'm going to tell you something. Them 2 senators can't change what I just saw today. That, brothers and sisters, is your mission. To change that perception of what I saw and what we saw and what the world is seeing, and make it something that's an aberration. Not something that you would deal with for the whole tenure of your term, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. No, we're talking about, can you change it now? And what you saw was a bunch of broke white people. They ain't working, or they're taking off from a job, that come here to spread mischief. And I'm going to tell you why they come here to spread mischief. So pay attention. America, brothers and sisters, America, brothers and sisters, is the only country in the world that produces a nigger. America is the only country in the world that produces a nigger. I've been to UK, I've been to Australia, I've been to Canada, I've been to Africa. This is the only country that produces a nigger. Because they need that nigger to validate the fact that they're niggers. They need a black man somehow to be lowered to this space so they can say, look, I'm over him. Or a black woman, look, I'm over him. Or Muslim, I'm over him. And only in that space where they push you down and tell everybody to come out, because that's what they do now. They tell everybody to come out, because I'm going to tell you something. I faced racists my whole life. Have I had fights with racists? Absolutely. I'm going to tell you something. They never traveled alone. And if you ever want to get one of them slipping, catch them come out to the library or work, wherever it is, catch them by themselves and see if they don't want to be your friend or your brother, or hope that you have some understanding about the situation. Racist chickens travel together. And even what I said, in this country, and we regurgitate it as African Americans, you could be a lawyer, you could be a doctor, you could be the president of the United States, huh? You could be a saint, for crying out loud. You can create, discover plasma. Dr. Charles Drew, who came from Washington, D.C. His daughter was the mayor, Charlene Drew Davis. You can do all these great things. You can also come up with what? A vaccine for coronavirus 19. But in America, all those great things don't mean nothing if I can reduce you to the fact that I can put you in front of folks, put you in a situation, and give a perception that whatever it is you did, it ain't going to supersede the fact that you're the nigger. And that's the America that we live in. And that's the America that Donald Trump runs. And that's the America that these GOP chickens are afraid to talk about. That's the America that has to end. So I'm going to say something I don't normally say. I don't believe in violence. Violence doesn't solve anything. But I believe if you got to protect your families, your wives, your daughters, your children, you're going to have to pick up arms. You're going to have to protect yourself. Protecting yourself is not violence. As Malcolm said, it's intelligence. And it's coming from somebody, brothers and sisters, I don't like guns. I never fired a gun in my life, but I understand the situation because I'm watching the world eat itself. I'm watching politicians eat their character. I'm watching people who's supposed to represent us, they don't represent us. This is potentially the slowest response to a riot I've ever seen, brothers and sisters. The police are over here. The protesters are over here. When we started the show, it was a 6 o'clock curfew here in Washington, D.C. A 6 o'clock curfew. And there was still protesters, as you saw, standing around, having conversations. These are protesters that came to the United States, damn it, that had hotel reservations. They're going to go back to their hotels and talk about it and upload all the stuff on social media. And all be damned to hell, get away with it. Get away with it. You know who didn't get away with a riot back in the day? Freddie Gray. You know why you don't hear about Freddie Gray from Baltimore? He's dead. He's dead. The police killed him. And it was nowhere near the magnitude of what I just saw today. And so the game and the hustle, brothers and sisters, is how long are you going to take it? This is not a mirage. I don't like to speak about this because I get what a different kind of fatigue. It's called a reality fatigue. To the point where I can scream this off the highest mountaintops and it's going to fall on deaf ears. And I am going to emphasize that protection at this point in time, moving forward, for all you brothers and sisters, Black, Latino, Muslim, non-Muslim, even white people that are right-minded, I'm going to emphasize that the protection I told you to take, beginning in with the fact that you must make people understand, even forcibly, that you exist. That you not only exist, but you have existed. The fact that each and every one of us here speaks to the fact that we exist through somebody else. We exist through somebody else's actions, somebody else's decisions. I always get upset when they put a young black man on the TV and he talks about my father wasn't already there. But I can tell by looking at you, your father existed. Good, bad, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. He existed. And we're getting away from this fact, brothers and sisters, that we're looking at folks who don't see us. They don't recognize our existence. That's too much of a spiritual weight. That's too much of a spiritual accountability. The relationship understanding that somebody, that man in front of me, whether the man is rich, poor, has a right and accessible understanding to his or her own existence. And I would employ that we don't go back to asking people to recognize our existence. I'm going to ask that everybody be aggressive now. Be aggressive. Act like they're not there. Act like they're invisible. You know, I don't really talk about it, but I was talking to a person, friend of mine, Palestinian. He's a real different dude because he kind of understands what's going on with African Americans, Native Americans, and stuff like that. And several years ago, I said, explain Palestine to me. I said, leave the Israeli part out. Explain Palestine to me. What is the level of oppression that you go through? He says, imagine you're in a house that you've built. You've been in a house your whole life. Your whole life. You've lived there 40, 50 years. You raised your children there. Your children are gone. And someone comes and says, you know what? We own this land. And as a result of it, we own your house. They have access to your house with no due process, with no due diligence, with no kindness, no humanity. And why would you have kindness, humanity, and due diligence when you're dealing with a lie? And the only reason why the lie is relevant is because everyone else around you is lying. Everyone else around you understands we can't afford the truth, and that's the only truth that they're going to hold on to, that we can't afford to tell the truth. And so for Mitch McConnell and Mike Pence, all y'all can go to hell. But you could have avoided this. And let me tell Mike Pence and Mitch McConnell with his no lips having self, no courage having self. I hope you enjoy it, fellas, because I got to see America turn you into niggas. And everybody that's out there on the mall and at the Capitol building, y'all the niggas now. And I hope the next slate of legislation comes back. All of a sudden, it deals with this situation. It deals with this situation. See, because we had a whole lot of things happen that made sure that we watch people go through a process. people who were shot, people who were paralyzed. It went through a process whereby the courts, brothers and sisters, the prosecutors, brothers and sisters, made sure that we did not see them as whole individuals. We saw them as byproducts of law, and the byproducts of law said that they were not guilty or they were guilty. And through that same prison, the people who committed these crimes, we didn't look at their character. We found a way to filter through whereby their actions upheld the truth that you can't tell. So as I wrap up, and I will wrap up, I don't believe in the political system. I don't. I believe in a religious edict and a religious ideology that has always recognized my humanness, that has always recognized my humanity. And I've been able to go out and lead brothers and sisters on that part of my humanity. That I can have relationships with people that aren't compromised with laws that are no good. Laws that are meant to exactly bend and break and compromise my existence. That make a 75-year-old black man have to be called a boy by a 9-year-old white boy. And it's okay. It's cute. The difference this time is, you understand, after COVID leaves, whenever that is, and the economy kind of gets back to, we're not going to be the same. And we're not going to be the same because we don't want to be the same. Embrace what you see. Embrace the fact that this is the America that everyone has known about, but we've been lying to ourselves. You see, brothers and sisters, if I'm in a group of 7 liars and I'm the only one that tells the truth, the numbers say people are going to believe the liars. If the liars have uniformity, they tell the same lie. I told you, in a situation, society where truth is abated is dangerous. The picture I saw of the guy with his feet up in Nancy Pelosi's office. Never met Nancy Pelosi. This is an 80-year-old woman. The amount of disrespect. Hear me now. The amount of disrespect. Not to her as a politician, but as an elder. Tells you ain't no shame in the game. Tells you you're not protected. Because when I see them not protected, I know I'm not protected. Let me throw this out here and then I'm going to wrap. Thank you so much, sister. Sister Sharon, thank you so much for coming on the show. Oh, Sister Satana, thank you so much for coming on the show. Let me wrap up and say just these few points I want to say. If you're in Georgia, Atlanta, Cobb County, Fulton County, have a conversation with your community because you could be next. The effort to elect 2 Democratic senators has changed the whole balance of power. And people now cannot benefit from a numbers game. See, in politics, it's become about numbers. Has nothing to do with character. Has nothing to do with the will of the people. If I have more people than you, then I can do whatever I want to. And that's not the rule of politics, brothers and sisters. That's the rule of the mob. That's the philosophy of the mob. And the philosophy of the mob is, if I have more people than you, then I can do what I want to. Now, granted, a mob ran into the house today. A mob. But it's foolish to think that you didn't think that a mob could do that. The Black Lives Matter protest had a large amount of people. But so did the women protest. So did, like I told my brother and I, the Million Man March had almost 2 million people. You're telling me you can't prepare for that? The mayor of D.C. has issued a curfew, but she told people, don't go down there. African Americans and people who could be attacked by the mob, she said, don't go down there. And what we got to do is see folks deal with their own folks. I literally had to watch it. And at this point in time, I just want everybody to know, America's changed. America's changed. What you saw today, that was what we used to laugh about in third world countries or S-hole countries, as the president said. Well, now we're an S-hole country. Congratulations. You are what you eat, or you are what you, whatever. So as I close, brothers and sisters, as I close, let me say this. What I was saying in terms of these racist chickens coming home to roost, it comes from the fact that at 54 years old, I have not seen peace from my brothers and sisters my entire life. Even when we had Obama as the president, they didn't respect him. Obama's presidency didn't make our existence any easier. It made us more proud of our existence, but it was in a vacuum. It was in a bubble. And the greatest society just sat and waited and said, well, as soon as he get out of there, oh boy, it's on. And they gave us a clown. More so than giving us a clown, though. They gave us a shaitan. They gave us a devil. And let me give you the definition of a devil, as I said before. It's not that the devil is a bad person. It's just that doing evil is addictive. Doing evil is addictive. And they can't help themselves. If the good is stacked up in front of them, they will move to find the evil or invent the evil. And so as I close, I'm going to tell everybody, be safe. Because this happened in the city. There's no protection in the country. There's no protection in these small little towns. You think I'm BSing? This movie called Rosewood. Watch Rosewood. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm saying, hey, Malcolm said it, and I'm going to say it too. Skin folk ain't always kinfolk. Skin folk ain't always kinfolk. Meaning that some people that look like us that have been culpable in this thing too. You dance with the devil, everybody got on shoes. My point, and I'll leave on this, is all of us have to be careful. I'm not talking in theory anymore. Remember I said I don't like to deal with conspiracy theories. I'm not talking about in theory anymore. I'm talking about, in the largest of terms, I'm talking about tangible results that everybody can see. I couldn't make this up. I couldn't make this up. I could talk about it, but I couldn't make it up. Remember we talked about man babies? The idea of a man baby, how a baby is a very selfish individual because a baby has to figure out the world, and everything that the baby does, they think that they've invented it. So if they take a bottle of water and throw it on the floor, they're thinking, I'm the first one to ever do it. Look what I did. And that's a baby. That's a baby. The baby is selfish. If you know children, you give them a toy, they throw it on the floor, you pick it up, you give it to them, they throw it on the floor because they believe you're supposed to pick up that toy, not that they're supposed to stop throwing a toy on the ground. That's a baby. But it's dangerous. It's dangerous when that baby becomes a man but still has baby tendencies. And I'm going to say two things and I'll go. It's dangerous to have a person like that man baby mentality. But also, I don't even want to get started on Candace Owens. That's a sellout. Everybody knows that. As I said, the man baby in and of itself is dangerous. What's even more dangerous is when we capitulate to the behavior of the man baby. And what you get when you capitulate to the behavior of the man baby is people trampling over your constitution. That's it for tonight, brothers and sisters. I hope everybody's safe. Inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow. I don't think the problems that we saw will abate, but I'm just going to tell you, understand and engage what you believe in. Don't let these people ever deny your existence. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your shout out show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next shout out show. A simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from ShOUT. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out ShOUT.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.